Hey y'all, welcome to Parent Empowerment with Mandy Drogin. I'm Mandy. I'm just a mom sitting down having real conversations with real Texas parents about what's going on across Texas. Today, I am so excited to be joined by the ambassador for Moms for Liberty Texas, Christie Slape. Christie is a mom of 4. She still has 1 child in public schools, and she is hearing from parents all across the great state of Texas about what's going on in our schools. Christie, thanks for joining us.
Hi, thank you. This is such a pleasure.
It is. Yeah, so you and I have been working together in the Parent Empowerment Coalition with a movement of dozens of other organizations that are advocating for parental rights, education savings accounts, which we want, and so many other important issues. And you've really been on the ground covering not only your work in Williamson County, where you served as the president, but also across Texas. So talk to us a little bit about what got you involved with Moms for Liberty.
Sure. I think like a lot of parents, COVID did a number on everyone. We like to say the education curtain was opened and we saw behind the scenes. We saw through our kids learning virtually and then them having to wear masks that things were not normal. And so myself and a lot of other parents who are accidental activists jumped in at our local school board level, wanted to try to influence our school board, and it was really hard as individuals. And when Moms for Liberty gained momentum, and a dear friend of mine, Danielle Weston, who was a school board member at the time, actually had asked a parent if she would start a chapter in Williamson County, we got that launch. That kind of switched gears, and then I became the chapter chair for our Williamson County chapter. And I thought Moms for Liberty was an answer to prayer because it gave us a template for how to move forward in a parental rights avenue without being scattered. I love Moms for Liberty because it is mission strong, parental rights, and education. Yes, there are so many issues that we deeply care about, but sometimes you feel like you're playing whack-a-mole with all the issues. And Moms for Liberty has this great graphic. I'm very visual, so I love a good graphic, but is it parental rights? Is it education? If not, it's somebody else's mission. Yeah. And it's really been able to help us get involved in our local school board and unify people from our county. So the chapters are countywide. So that's been my focus since 2023 when we started our chapter, is focus on Williamson County. We have 15 school districts. We can't really tackle them all, but the big school districts, mine, Round Rock ISD, Leander, Liberty Hill, Hutto, those have been, in Georgetown, have been some of the districts that we've had some influence in. But we've seen such amazing moms and dads, by the way. Moms for Liberty, it started by moms. That was what the co-founders say. But really, it's for anyone, moms, dads, grandparents, and concerned citizens. And we want anyone to get involved, join our ranks and become a member and get these resources that are incredible to be able to fight back against the woke indoctrination and the sad, abysmal, academics that are happening in our public schools right now.
Yeah. Well, thank you for jumping in and hearing the call that oftentimes, I know I've talked to a lot of parents that they get nervous, they get concerned about that there's going to be retribution to their child in the public schools. So thank you for stepping up and realizing that we've got to have more moms and dads that are fighting and pointing out when our schools kind of go astray. And I think that's, we've had kind of a cone of silence for decades, quite frankly, when parents maybe saw something that didn't look right, saw work come home that didn't seem right, that they've been silent. So thank you for stepping up and doing that and really leading other moms and giving them the confidence. I've seen you up at the Capitol so many times advocating and encouraging other moms to kind of fight back. And you touched on it. This woke indoctrination, this far leftist ideology that has kind of permeated the pedagogy, the curriculum, and the day-to-day operations of far too many of our school districts. Can you tell us a little bit about what you saw and what you tried to take on and continue to try to take on in the public school system system specifically. So I know you touched on the mass and your friends, Dr. Mary Bone and Danielle Weston from the school board, they fought against that when everybody else was saying mask our kids. And moms like us were like, this is bananas.
Right.
You're insane. Like, why would you be doing this? So what else are you seeing and trying to fight against?
I think the real question is, how much time do we have? Because I have a lot of stories.
We need one of those infographics that says if it's pornography in schools, if it's indoctrination in curriculum, and that's so what do you see?
Sure.
Give us some stories that you're hearing, Liberty Hill, Leander, and Round Rock, because that's what you are. But I know that you talk to moms from all across the state, and they see it too.
They do. I think really one of the biggest issues that has been going on, and it's still continuing, hopefully it's coming to an end, is the books in the library, the materials in the library. They're also in the classroom library, so teachers have their own stash of books that students can read. But for years, I even ran for school board in 2022 in Round Rock ISD. We had 5 openings. We had 2 conservative school board members and then 5 empty seats. 5 of us decided to run for school board. Very conservative, wanted to get rid of the woke indoctrination. We ran. We did not win, but I say, it was an unsuccessful success because it led me to Moms for Liberty. So I'm thankful for that. All the relationships I built through campaigning, that really helped launch Moms for Liberty in our area. But I would say that one of the biggest issues for me were the books. I know you're very familiar with them. Our legislators are now very familiar with the books that are still in the libraries. Last summer, I believe, I went through a list of hundreds of books, and I went through. Well, I downloaded the list from our coalition partners and friends, and then I started going through our school library online catalog, linking every book.
It's there.
This is in our library. This is in our library. And the most egregious one. So in August of 2023, I believe the first school board meeting of that school year, we had 10 parents who were so courageous. They read excerpts from the books. This had been done before. It had been online, but it had never really been done at Round Rock ISD. As a matter of fact, I was so cautious about sharing the names, the authors of the books. I just didn't want any children, teenagers, to even hear the names of the books and go look them up out of curiosity. So I would speak at a school board meeting and say, we have these books. I printed copies. I'd have them handed out to the school board members. They would just look at them. One of the school board members was like, "Is this a nothing burger?" is what he called it, as he's looking through the pages of the book.
Pornography. It is.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely. I mean, the most disgusting, graphic, sexually explicit things.
Yes.
And I'm being told it's a nothing burger. So anyway, fast forward a little bit later, and these 10 parents said, "We'll read." So I kind of did a little intro with the school board, and then these parents get up and they just kind of start rapid firing. One brave mama is in the middle of reading. There's an expletive, an F word in the book, and the counsel for the school board stopped her and said, "You can't say that." Of course, you know how that goes.
Right,
We're
of
like,
course.
"Really?" But the kids can read it.
But the kids can read it.
Right. And she kind of apologized and kept going. But at that moment, we realized, like everybody else, it's like rules for thee, not for me.
Correct.
We're going to keep giving it to the kids, but we're not necessarily going to let you read it aloud. So there was that. Then there was another dad who, thankfully, he has a good sense of humor, but he read one of the most horrific books, which is All Boys Aren't Blue. And it talks about, 2 men having a sexual encounter very graphically.
Right.
And he read it. And of course, I'm watching the school board members' faces, and there's no expression. They're looking down. They just have that blank look on their face. And he finished. Somehow the Fox News picked it up. Laura Ingraham had him, on her show. And again, they asked him to stop reading. And he was like, this isn't the... Okay. So that went on. Nothing changed. We started realizing our school board is woke, or they're afraid of being sued. They're afraid of the American Library Association, the librarians, the woke groups, the Human Rights Campaign, all of these
The ACLU, they'll tell you, they'll come in and sue you. They do. They get threatened.
Yes. So they are just playing super neutral. And we just realized as a Moms for Liberty chapter and just local conservative activists, we have to go to the state level.
Yeah.
We still want to go to the school board meetings. We still want to be involved, but we are at the point where there has to be legislation passed to stop this. I understand in Texas we have local control, and there are benefits to that, but there's some things that need laws to protect children.
So I'm going to challenge you a little bit on that, only for the sense that it is, particularly as conservative women, we say we want local control, local control. This is where I think a lot of Texans don't realize when they talk about their school board and they want them locally controlled. They are not locally controlled. Let's be very clear. First and foremost, TASB, Round Rock, Leander, Liberty Hill, 99% of districts in Texas go to the Texas Association of School Boards. And I've said this before, and I will continue to say it. I think they are an absolutely abhorrent organization. They have figured out how to get their tentacles into every aspect. They have an energy cooperative. They do your executive searches, placing superintendents, treating them like being placed like football coaches and bouncing them around with golden parachutes. That's TASB. They have their risk management pool. They have the investment pool, which is overseeing literally billions of dollars, and goodness knows how much they're taking in fees when the state already offers that. It is and then of course their TASB conferences where the CEO of one of the largest lobbying and financial advising firms here in Texas that goes and talks to trustees all across Texas was told, don't give our teachers pay raises. So this is where we funnel all of our trustees, who the majority of them, they run for office because they want to do what's best for their kids in the schools. And then they're put into these, what I would say, essentially like indoctrination camps, indoctrination conferences. They're told you must defer to the superintendents. The superintendents are told, essentially, you must defer to us, TASA and TASB, the Texas Association of School Administrators. They're all these sister organizations, and they are who control our local school board. So I just wanted to get that out because I agree. I want local control. There's nothing more local than having moms and dads, first off at the dinner table, talking about what's best for their kids. But then at the school board level, I think it's very important that we talk about where these school boards are being trained, the information, the radical woke indoctrination. They have the ACLU at these events. They have people that literally are figuring out how to steer money. That is not what's good for the community, the teachers and the kids and the parents. And that really does have to stop. It is absolutely imperative that we do have local control, and that when parents are running for school boards like yourself that really have no interest other than just doing what's right for their community, when you've got these profiteers and what I've dubbed kind of the cartel members that are funding the campaigns against for parents or for just local community members, they aren't even parents of students, against people like you. I had to go on that because it is so important that Texans understand. We talk about local control. It is not local. Your school board is being controlled by TASB and TASA and the ACLU and the Texas Freedom Network and the American Federation for Teachers and all of these woke ideologues who want to keep kids captive, which is why they fought against school choice, because parents could leave, and they want to stifle the voices of great moms and dads like you that share the values of 90% of Texans. Okay, had to say that. Because
you're right.
They control it.
Yes, we are very aware of TASB and its influence, which is why I personally and many other people in my circles are against taxpayer-funded lobbying.
Of course.
We were really hoping that bill would pass this session because TASB does take tax dollars from our school districts, the memberships. All the school board members are told, basically you have to be a member. Right. And that money goes to TASB, and then they use that money to lobby against your values. Correct. So again, my two dear friends who were on the Round Rock School Board would go to these conferences and come back and say, you are not going to believe the things that they said to us. And they're using our taxpayer dollars to promote all of this. And then all of these contractors show up in the evening and they have their little casino nights and they're giving out tickets and prizes. And then, of course, the school board members are going to think that those companies are great. Why not give them a contract for millions of dollars?
That's right.
Yeah. So anyway, I do get it. Yes. They're organized, and they have been for a long time. And that's the problem with the left having so much influence in our schools. Yes. Because they are very organized. They've been doing this for decades. That's right. And I think conservatives, Moms for Liberty, one of the top organizations, has decided or declared, like, we're going to get ourselves organized, and we are going to be a force against that the indoctrination and just using our tax dollars in appropriate ways, because end of the day, it's the children who are suffering.
That's right.
And we want the kids to be educated the way we were educated or way better.
Yes.
But right now, the numbers
50%
show, yes,
can't
less
read.
than 50% cannot read. And are they going to be successful in life? Absolutely not. So we fight for rigorous academics and against the indoctrination and the social emotional learning, the things that are basically becoming a substitute for the academics. We've had enough of it. And we'll keep fighting despite all of the hate that we get. You mentioned it. It takes a lot of courage because there are parents, they want to speak up, but they cannot stand the pressure of someone hating on them, especially on social media. The keyboard warriors, they'll
go after your business.
100%.
I've had plenty of people. Yeah. There's a family that shows up to the Capitol for every significant piece of legislation, particularly the ESAs that we've been pushing for years. And they bring their adorable family, and they're just good people, and they own a small business in a decent sized community. And but every time they show up and every time I ask the mom, I say, do you want to testify? We'll register for you and you can. And she says, no, they'll come after our business. And they're not wealthy people. They own like a very small business in the community. Anyways, and so parents, I've heard this. I get phone calls. It's where I get a lot of tips is parents will call me, teachers will call me and tell me what's going on and be like, I can't say it because they'll come after my business or they'll come after my job.
Right.
And it's horrifying, but it is, important that we continue to share their stories.
Absolutely.
And encourage them to share them as well.
Yeah, because there is a freedom in just getting over that, whatever it is, that speed bump or that barrier when you think I can't speak out. The first time you do and you realize how contagious the courage is and other people speak up, it's really liberating. And so I really feel like whatever we can do to empower parents, and that's what Moms for Liberty does. We unify them, we educate them, and we empower them to defend their parental rights at all levels of government. And if that means learning how to have thick skin, tough skin, and a soft heart, then that's what we want to do. We say we're joyful warriors. We're joyful. We put a smile on our face, but we are warriors. We are not going to stop because our children are worth it. We're going to keep fighting.
That's it, is we're fighting for kids.
Yes.
We're fighting for our own children and their future with the children that are growing up in their same peer group. Well, that is really amazing. And so significant wins that y'all were a part of at the legislature was Senate Bill 12, Senate Bill 13, Senate Bill 2.
Yes.
So parental rights, teacher rights, education savings accounts, all massive wins, obviously.
So exciting.
So what are you looking towards now that we have more of the rights granted? What are you guys going to be doing over the interim, essentially, before we get going again in 18 months?
Yeah. Okay. Well, let's just hit on all of those bills because this was the first year that Texas has had a Moms for Liberty legislative committee.
Okay.
So since the inception of Moms for Liberty in 2021, we have just been, there's the national organization. It kind of sets up the great template and the support for all the chapters. But we have 340 chapters, I believe, across the country. Okay. And every chapter is kind of independent, still tied to the national organization, but we have some autonomy. So our focus is local, local, local. We only endorse in school board races. We focus on our, just our school board issues. But then all of a sudden, we became aware that we need to fight at the state level. Yeah. And so a couple of the other states Florida, North Carolina, I believe, had legislative committees, and then it was time for Texas to start one. And so my dear friend Tara Petch, she and I agreed to be co-chairs. We're both so busy, and no one wanted to be in charge. So we decided we will do the co-chair position of the legislative committee, and we have one member from each a voting member from each chapter across the state of Texas that would participate in reading the bills, giving input, feedback to the legislators, and then we'd vote on endorsing them or opposing the bills. Okay. So yes, SB2, the ESAs, school choice, that was a big one for us because honestly, many of us are in full support of school choice, but different people have ideas about what that means. Sure. And so it took really talking to people who've been fighting this battle for like 30 years and to really get the full picture, because you go on social media and you hear about, what is school choice? You get a lot of misinformation. Right. And you all have done a great job, and Governor Abbott has done a great job of really just busting the myths and getting the facts out there. And we were able to endorse that bill, go to the bill signing. It was incredible.
Wasn't it?
It was incredible. And I will say, coming from a district, again, Round Rock ISD, that is 1/3 of Austin and 2/3 in Williamson County, Round Rock, we see the reasons every single day why we need school choice for families.
What would those be? Give us some examples.
I'll give you a very recent example.
Okay.
This past Saturday was the Round Rock Pride Festival.
I saw that.
Yes, this is the 3rd year. We have spoken out about it. Round Rock ISD, a public government school, has a booth there every year. Last year, I went, took to online. I did an open records request. How much did we spend?
Yes.
It was like a little over $1,000. How much money, taxpayer dollars, went towards this? They had these fans. They were like rainbow colored. There's pictures of our trustees.
The ISD.
The Round Rock ISD with their logo, their little whatever that big sign is behind them, step and repeat sign.
Yeah.
Yes, welcoming people to their booth at the Pride Festival, gay pride, or whatever, LGBTQ Pride Festival. I was just curious, like, what are we spending on this? So about $1,000. This year, they put online on their official Facebook page that the booth was donated by a certain community member.
Sure.
She supported it.
Yeah.
Her name and everything. She is a woman who goes to school board meetings. She literally has a homemade tie-dyed shirt that says Moms for Liberty, M for L is a hate group, and then it says SPLC on the bottom. So the Southern Poverty Law Center. Right, so she's really proud of that. So she decided to sponsor that booth. Still doesn't make it okay, because in the pictures online you can see there are these big blue plastic tubs full of books. I'm trying to get some answers on what they did with those books, but you can see they're stacked to the top. There were librarians there because I can, read in the comments. But right on the top of one of the book bins is a book. I just Googled it. It is right there in ratedbooks.org. It's got sexual activity. It's got, on the cover is young, teenage boys, like a gay relationship. And then lots of sexual activity in the book. You can read the profanity count. There's, lots of F words. It's, really dirty. And so my thought is they're probably giving these books away.
I'm sure they're.
Right.
That's exactly
and I'm
what they're doing.
I'm hoping that they're clearing their shelves, because they know that when school starts, and SB 13 goes into effect, right?
Yes.
September 2025.
Yeah.
That they won't be able to keep all of those on the shelves. But, instead of locking them up in a warehouse, of course they want to make sure that everybody who wants them gets them. So anyway, so there's that. Just the fact that our school district says, even when parents called, complained, they say...
Can I ask you a question? Yeah. Do they put up a booth and buy a step and repeat and give away books like Heroes of Liberty or anything like at the 4th of July parade?
I have
Does
not.
Round Rock ISD?
I have not seen that. I wondered the same thing. Would it be... not
balance. Even like that there's even a remote equivalence in that, but I'm just it always blows my mind, because my children are zoned for AISD and I refuse to send them there, because we have pride flags on the fences of our elementary schools. And I'm like, what's wrong with you people? These kids aren't even in puberty, and this is what or I have a friend whose son is in 1st grade, and right before school ended, he was read My Shadow is Purple. For those of parents that don't know, that is a transgender book for, again, 1st graders, marketed and being read to 1st graders. And my head almost exploded. I was like, and they went to the principal, and the principal's response at this school, which is mind-blowing to me, her response was, I'm really sorry. You should have been given the opportunity to opt out and have your child removed. And I thought, what is wrong with you people?
It's just a whole different worldview.
You're creating mental illness.
Correct.
Gender dysphoria is a mental illness. It always has been. It always will be. You cannot change your gender. And they're sitting here trying to read this. I mean, heaven help the principal that tries to tell me that.
Right. And I mean, that's the danger. People want to put their kids in the local elementary school. It's so convenient.
That
it might be in
great.
your neighborhood, right? But then you find out that all of this is going on. And really, a lot of parents don't know. And that's why, again, at Moms for Liberty, we are trying to educate people. So we try to use social media. We try to get the word out. We do events in the community. We host parent workshops right before school starts. We teach parents how to opt out, how to sign usually school districts now send out like a digital it's like entry forms for the beginning of the school year, and it gives you the opportunity to opt out of, like, if you don't want your child's picture in the yearbook, things like that.
Yeah.
But beyond that, we teach them to fill out a form that says, I don't want my kids reading about this. I don't want them to learn about this.
That's great.
And then they could submit that to the principal, their teachers, maybe a specials teacher.
Does Moms for Liberty provide that template of what that they should do?
It's not on our website right now, but we have some chapter members in Nueces County. So that's Corpus Christi who have worked on that. Carrie Moore is wonderful. She participates in lots of groups, but she has made that really one of the hills that she's going to die on, is making sure every parent knows how to opt out of these things. So that paper that has the parents' wishes on it goes into a file, but there really is not a 100% certainty that they're going to comply.
Right.
The teachers, the principals. But at least the parent has said, these are my wishes, and then they have, some sort of...
Well, and in theory, if there's enough parents that do, I think that's amazing. I hope that y'all will put it on the website, and we would be happy to link to it as well. Because that's it. And that's one of the reasons that I talk about the parent empowerment movement was parents. You're a public school parent. I'm a public charter school parent. It was parents, homeschool parents, public school parents, charter school parents, private school parents, grandparents, just concerned citizens and Texans who wanted to give power back to parents so that if you don't listen and you are exposing my child to this. I know Corpus Christi has an amazing school called Annapolis Christian there. I know that because it was the first event that the governor and I did on the parent empowerment events that we were doing. And of course, hundreds of families from their own community, their school showed up, but hundreds more from the community who wanted to understand and who agreed. They want to be able to go to their administrators and be like, if you are reading to my first grader or kindergartner, My Shadow is Purple, or if you are providing graphic sexual novels and violence to my whatever grade child, I will leave. And that was such a key part of it, is giving that power that you may not need a choice right now, because most parents do want to send their child to the school down the street. But if they decide to not listen to you, mom and dad, you now have a choice to leave.
That's right. That has been the song I've been singing for a while, because our family talks about all the issues with our kids. Our children know, we have a Christian worldview, and they know the expectations. Walking into their school, if they see something that doesn't sound right, doesn't look right, they come home and we talk about it. Not everybody does that.
Right.
But I do feel like as long as my daughter feels safe, like physically safe in her school, and she has rigorous academics, which she's in all advanced classes, so she's doing really well there.
That's great.
Then we're okay with her being there, but we have to keep that communication open at all times. I feel like now with the committee substitute for SB2 passing and being signed by the governor, that we now have leverage. Because we can say, we did pull 2 of our kids out of Round Rock ISD, actually. It was their choice. They wanted to do something different. They did an online and private school, and it worked for them.
That's great.
But like every week, we would get a text message and an email from Round Rock ISD. Come back to Round Rock ISD. They're trying to increase their enrollment because the enrollment is, waning off. Is that the right?
Yeah.
I always forget. Waxing, waning. Yeah. And I just know that if we have the option for our youngest to go to a different school that she feels comfortable going to, then that is going to be a little bit painful for our public schools. And if every parent knows these are the issues. Well, for example, there's a book in almost every school district. I forget the name of it now, but it's a children's book. It tells little kids they can be a boy, a girl, neither or both. And it says, when you were born, the doctor told your mom and dad that you were this, but the doctor could have been wrong. You could be a different gender, or you could be no genders. I can't believe it. So I do this little side gig for Moms for Liberty. I started in December. It's called Mom on a Mission. So I take a microphone, I wear my little cowboy hat, and I go around Texas,
I know.
and I interview people on the street, just regular people, and ask them, what do you know about gender ideology? What do you know about comprehensive sex education? All of these issues. And people are floored when they hear that little children are being offered these books that completely wire their mind. They can't unsee it or unhear it.
Right.
Once it's in their brain, that seed is planted.
Right.
And that's very dangerous.
Yes.
So we have to keep getting the word out so people can pull their kids if they...
Especially when you're doing it in prepubescent years.
Yes.
And I say that because when you're planting that seed in there, when puberty starts, and it starts at different times for girls and boys, whether it's voices changing, bodies filling out, development of breasts, all of that, it's awkward.
Sure.
It's awkward. There's always the girl who's more advanced that all the boys are looking at, and she may like it or she may hate it. And there's always the ones that are far, and you're like, it's a confusing. If you've planted 5 years before that, well, you might just not be a girl.
Right.
That's where you're getting kids and this massive, bizarre exponential growth in children with body dysmorphia and feeling, wanting to pursue these permanent, drastic, horrifying procedures or medication. They don't even realize that even when you just slow puberty, that you are completely messing up your biology forever.
Yeah.
You can't fix the deeper voice. You can't fix the wider jaw. You can't fix that. Anyways, that's why when, again, my friend told me about this, my shadow is purple, but I mean, my head about exploded.
Yeah.
Because
it's just one of so
can't
many
ever,
examples.
it takes me back to the little song that, I don't know if I learned it in vacation Bible school or what it was, but it was, be careful, little ears, what you hear.
Oh, yeah.
Be careful, little eyes, what you see. And it's all of this, like what you hear, what you see, what you do, what you touch, what you, think.
Yeah.
Because all of that, as children's brains are forming, once it's in there, it's in there.
Yeah, and it's our role as parents to keep our children innocent,
Right.
to protect them. And it's so disappointing. It's sad and it's evil that
Yes.
schools, public schools specifically, I mean, I know there are private schools too that have let a lot of the woke agenda permeate, but that they would take the innocence of children whose parents want to be the ones to talk to them about those issues that are just so delicate and have to be spoken in a way that's age appropriate.
Right.
And it's like they go to school and you never know, like, they can just get this dumped on the kids and come home completely overwhelmed and sad and confused and grossed out, all of those things.
All of it.
Yeah.
Well, also, if it doesn't, you said that you're a Christian, we're Christians as well. And so there is a biblical worldview that God made boy and girl, male, female, which then becomes husband and wife, which then becomes father and mother. And anatomy was created in a way to fit together and things like that. And if you're trying to take that role and usurp the role of the parent and go around that, that's where parents do and should have a big problem. That is not the role of anyone outside of parents. And it's certainly not the role in kindergarten and first grade and all of that.
No. And I mean, that really just leads into the Senate Bill 12 that passed. And it's so amazing to have legislation that does protect parents, and it does put guardrails around this diversity, equity, and inclusion that we're seeing.
Yeah.
I mean, the diversity, I loved taking Spanish in high school. I loved it. I had a teacher that I loved. And I decided I wanted to be a Spanish teacher. I mean, so much that I wanted to be a Spanish teacher. So I went to college. I studied abroad in Costa Rica. I got a degree in Spanish and another degree in psychology. I became a high school Spanish teacher. I loved the culture. I loved teaching about different countries and languages and things like that. To me, diversity is people knowing their roots, where they came from, and celebrating that. Everybody looks different. America's a melting pot. Like, to me, that's really special. The diversity, equity, and inclusion is something next level. It's so bizarre, actually, that we want to divide everyone by all of their different qualities and characteristics. And again, if you don't fit the mold, if you really don't get the equity or the I don't know, you don't get that special attention that other groups get. Not that everybody needs special attention, but can we not just all be equal, right? I mean, our founding fathers wanted us to be equal, but yet our school districts are complicit in dividing people by color, oppressor, oppressee. Again, the pride flags, this is a safe space. We've got this rainbow sign on this door, which we've seen them in our kids' schools too. This room is safe because, we're an ally of the LGBTQ community. Does that mean that all of the other rooms that don't have that are not safe for kids?
Yeah.
That's just bizarre.
Yeah.
So
it's manipulation. It is a constant manipulation.
Yeah.
This diversity, equity, and inclusion nonsense. It's a manipulation to create a victimhood mentality and leverage that to create little activists or social justice warriors. And we've seen that at every level, from the state legislative level up to the national level. I can remember a teacher that got up to speak at the Democratic National Convention for Kamala Harris. And she said, I became a teacher because it's the greatest platform for social justice activism in America. And I just thought it was just disgusting. There was a pit in my stomach. But you know what? She said the quiet part out loud. Yeah. What we know is happening in far too many schools, and far too many schools in the colleges of education where, by the way, we're not teaching teacher, you went and got a degree. You're not being taught how to teach kids to read. You're not learning the science of reading. We have an amazing colleague here, and I did a podcast with her. She went to Stanford's master's program in education. So it's you would think it was the elite of the elite, and they better be learning, they should be learning to teach, the kids at Hockaday or whatever. And she literally had never even heard of the science of reading and phonics and the importance of phonics. And that is everywhere. That is all across Texas. Thankfully and hopefully we're going to change that. There's some legislation that was passed that ensures, it was HB 2. It was to ensure that we're providing teachers with what they need to implement phonics space. But it is just wild when we're thinking about what we're teaching at the higher education level, particularly in the colleges of education and medicine, quite frankly, which was kind of the left's plan, right? If we can take over the thought leaders in education and change the pedagogy and change the way that the K through 12 system works. And they were very good at it for a while. But now we have parents like yourself, moms that have united together and said, we're going to fight back. We're no longer going to let this system take our tax dollars and provide a poor education that is, in a lot of ways, in far too many places, full of indoctrination to our kids. So that's amazing.
Yeah, I don't know if you're aware, but Moms for Liberty is actually celebrating Parental Rights Month.
No.
It is the 100th anniversary of Pierce versus the Society of Sisters. It was a Supreme Court ruling that said that children are not the mere creatures of the state, that parents' rights are supreme. And our co-founders realized this is a really special month.
This month of June?
Oh, it is their 100-year celebration. So we have done a big kickoff in Moms for Liberty on our website. You can go to momsforliberty.org.
Good.
And there are some resources there. You can see our parent pledge. I have one with me here.
Okay.
We ask parents and candidates and legislators to sign what we call our parent pledge, and they pledge to honor the fundamental rights of parents, including but not limited to the right to direct the education, medical care, and moral upbringing of their children. They pledge to advance policies that strengthen parental involvement in decision-making, increase transparency, defend against government overreach, and secure parental rights at all levels of government. Governor Abbott signed this when Tara and I went to his office. It's really great. We have lots of legislators here in Texas that have signed it. I jotted down a few. My representative, Caroline Harris-Davila, signed it. Nate Schatzline, Trox Claire Hicklin, Oliverson, Briscoe Kane, Valerie Swanson. We've got Senators Paxton Hall, Middleton Hughes. They've all signed this.
That's great.
Nationally, President Trump has signed the pledge. Kristi Noem, Marco Rubio, Senator Ted Cruz, the Oklahoma governor. I mean, it's a big deal.
That's amazing.
So it's online. You can see photos. You can click on the link, download the form, sign it. I usually usually take my little clipboard around the Capitol and ask legislators if they'll sign it. And they are like, absolutely.
Yes.
Most of them don't even read it. They're like, Moms for Liberty, parental rights, I'm all in. And they'll sign it.
That's awesome. Yeah. So Moms for Liberty, is it the number 4 or spelled out?
Spelled out.
So momsforliberty.org.
Yes.
Okay, and that's where you can find the parental rights pledge.
Yes,
I encourage
under
everyone,
resources. Yeah.
Under resources. Okay, go to resources. I encourage everyone to print it out. They should take it to school board members and to superintendents and to. I love that. That's amazing. So for Texans, how many chapters are here in Texas of Moms for Liberty?
Currently, I believe we have 12.
Okay,
and so
we need more.
We have, and they're countywide. We have 254 counties. Okay. Right. So my role now as the Texas ambassador. Is to get more chapters open, to spread the word about Moms for Liberty. Yeah. It's not just a club. It is a tried and true template for getting parents together. Again, not just moms. Moms started it, but and moms usually run the show, but dads are involved too, and grandparents who are usually retired and have more time to participate and really help. It is a mechanism for education. Every month we have a chapter meeting, and I will teach on the topic of the month. We have this new effort called Moms for Liberty University, M4LU, and each month we're hitting on a big topic to give people the opportunity to do a deep dive on restorative justice, again, gender ideology, comprehensive sex education, things that sometimes we just, they go over our head or gloss over. And so we do deep dives into those. We have people come and speak at our meetings. If anybody wants to come speak, we would love that. Yeah. Each chapter has their own meeting. And we really train parents to get out there and help do the work, because one of my dear friends says, don't wait for the cavalry. You are the cavalry.
That's right.
Yeah, nobody's coming to save you in your school. It is going to take work and sacrifice. Yeah. And I will say, I'm really proud of the moms in Moms for Liberty, the chapter chairs, and there are a few men actually that are chapter chairs, who have made such huge sacrifices, huge, monetarily, reputation, time with family, in order to advance this effort. Yeah. It really is for the survival of America. Yeah. We know that if the rights of parents are taken away, we're not going to get them back. Right. So it's so important that we're helping pass legislation. We took a very small role this year as a new legislative committee, but it was inspiring to go through the process and to see and meet legislators who, they've been filing some of these same bills for a really long time, and to finally see them pass is amazing. I know Senator Paxton has done such a good job to really just defend the rights of parents, Senator Middleton as well, many of them. Yeah. And we are we're so thankful for the support that we've gotten to just Moms for Liberty. A lot of times we'll see the legislators and they want to come over and talk to us, and it feels really great. We do get a lot of hate from the left, and I tell you what, I mentioned earlier, we are moms and we are going to fight for our children no matter what. So it just isn't going to stop us.
That's awesome. Yeah. Well, I love to hear your courage of conviction, that you are not going to back down, particularly when there's smears and entrenched interests and money that are against you. Keep fighting and doing the great work. I hope that you continue to grow and build. I would love to see you be able to double the number of counties that have Moms for Liberty representatives. So go to momsforliberty.org. Yes. Under resources, you can find the Parent Pledge. Where do they go to help start their own chapter?
Same place. Okay. So the national website, which is momsforliberty.org, is a wealth of resources. Okay. Literally the very first button that you see when you open up the website is Join the Fight. Click on that and you can join. If there's not a chapter in your area, you can join at large and just be a national member. But what we want is scroll down to the bottom of the form, or when you get to the bottom of the form, and it asks you to join your your local chapter. Yeah. Look for the county. So it's not a city, it's not a school district, it's going to be your county. Look for that. Make sure it's the right state, because I hear, a lot of states have the same counties, names. And either try to sign up to join that local chapter, and if there isn't one, start your own. Okay. And there is a link or a button that says Start a Chapter. You can see a national map, and it's navy blue, and it's got yellow where all the counties are that already have chapters. Okay. But we need more chapters, because there's so much momentum, and Texas is so big.
Yes.
I love Texas. I'm a 6th-generation Texan. I've been here my whole entire life, and I love Texas. I still don't think I've visited every county in Texas, but I would love to, and I would love to have a Moms for Liberty chapter in every county. Absolutely.
Okay.
That is my role. And there's national support. Tara is there now. She's going to be helping get these chapters started. There are so many resources. We have a national summit coming up in October this year. It'll be in Orlando, Florida, and we have Moms for Liberty from across the country come, hear from amazing speakers, just feed off of the energy and hear the stories of people across the country who have very similar stories, but we, can help each other. And President Trump has been to our last 2, once in Philadelphia and once in D.C. He spent 90 minutes with our co-founder, Tiffany Justice, doing a fireside chat in a small little quaint room. We appreciated the time and energy so much. Huge names come to our summit, and we want people to get their chapter started and get to Orlando. It's October 16th through the 18th, I believe.
Okay,
yes.
momsforliberty.org. Go sign up and sign the pledge. Go start a chapter. You'll have help and support. Christie, thank you for coming and talking about all the great work that you're doing. We are so grateful that Moms for Liberty is a part of the Parent Empowerment Coalition, helping to push forward with parental rights and improving education. Thank you for joining us today on Parent Empowerment with Mandy Drogin. And now you have the power.